That was a report by Judith Tando. Now, the Volta caucus in Parliament is calling on the Nat'l House of Chiefs to compel President Akufo-Addo to render an unqualified apology to the Aplau chief Togbe Ajongaga and Menya Fiti. President Akufo-Addo, while addressing the paramount chief's concern about an abandoned E-block project in his jurisdiction, observed that if the chief is frustrated about the delay in the completion of the project, then he should complete it himself. Well, the minority feels the president's comment is an affront to the chieftaincy institution. The NDC MPs say they are being pressurized by their constituents to insist drastic measures will be taken against the president should he fail to apologize. Let's take you live to Parliament now and speak with my colleague KWESI Parker Wilson, who was at that press conference. Parker, you've been speaking to the North Tongue MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa. What has he been saying?
Well, so Aisha, for him, it is very unfortunate that the president made those comments. And then again, the argument that the president spoke in jest, for him, I mean, we take the president more seriously than the comment that he spoke in jest. So he wouldn't accept that excuse that the president spoke in jest. And so he's asking the National House of Chiefs to quickly compel the president to render an apology to the paramount chief of Aflao, because in his view, this is an affront. This is an attack on the chieftaincy institution. And clearly, it doesn't speak well for posterity. And he indicated to us that the chiefs in the Volta region, together with their constituents in the Volta region, are mounting pressure on the Volta caucus in Parliament that they should use all parliamentary procedures to ensure that the president does the right thing. And one of the things they're considering, Aisha, is that should the president fail to do the needful by apologizing to the paramount chief, well, when he appears before the House to brief the nation on the state of affairs of the country, they can boycott it. It's one of the options they can take. Again, budgets will be presented to the floor of the House on 17th of November. That is next month, just about 2 to 3 weeks from now. The minority can decide to boycott it as well. So these are options they are considering, that if the president fails to do that, but they want him to do that with immediate effect, as in now, between now and probably next week, we should hear the president saying that I am sorry to the paramount chief, because he admitted in his interview with Kwame Sefakai that the Cape Coast incident was a mistake, and he's human, so he should be forgiven. And in that same vein, the minority, and this is from Ablakwa, in that same vein, we should equally do so that it was a slip of tongue and that he is sorry, he didn't mean that. And of course, they will forgive him for saying that. So this is the call on the National House of Chiefs and also the president as well.
Ablakwa Mashi, who is K2 South MP, who actually addressed this press conference, indicated that they will be raising funds for the completion of that project. I mean, how do they intend to do that?
Well, so for him, it's what she calls the go-get fund. So in fact, she actually appealed first and foremost to all Voltarians. So across the world, if you're a Voltarian, come from the Volta region, it is your duty to at least contribute a quota for the completion of the project. And she says because the president asked the chief to complete it, they themselves, the minority, would lead a charge for the completion of the project. And they are expecting that every Voltarian, every woman in Ghanaian who believes in education should also contribute towards that, so that at least the people and the young ones in Aflao, K2 South, and its environs will also have the opportunity to enjoy the free senior high school education that has been initiated by the government. But Aisha, there's a latest twist. You recall that the Education Ministry has said that about 27 of the E-blocks, which were almost about 30% complete, had been terminated. The contract had been terminated. Well, I've been speaking to the deputy ranking member on that committee, on the education committee, that is Dr. Clement Park. He says that they are not buying that. They want government to, one, furnish the committee with the full list of the 27 schools or projects that have been abandoned, together with its location, provide reasons for, very tangible, and these were his words, very tangible reasons for the termination of the contract. Until then, they won't accept they won't accept the excuse from government that because of the slow nature of the project, they decided to abandon it. In fact, he makes the point that the 101 project, in fact, 23 was being funded by an international donor. The about 101 was being funded by GOG. And the plan was that annually, government will budget for, will make available funds for the construction of the project. Since the NPP came to power, they've never done that. And so they cannot blame the slow project or the slow nature of the work on the contractors' inability to complete the work. They should have made funds available for the contractors. That wasn't done. And it's the reason we are seeing the project being stalled across the country. And so these are his demands. They are saying that until then, the minority will haul the education minister before the House to provide reasons why these 27 projects have been terminated.
Parker, what other businesses have the MPs been conducting in Parliament?
Well, so largely today, normally when Parliament resumes from recess, the activities in the House are not really swift. And some have raised concerns that the ministers who are supposed to furnish the House with their policies do not do that. So the first two weeks of sitting, really, there's nothing to do. So today, largely, they took a few statements from some members of Parliament. We understand that Qatar held the parliamentary elections, and so the deputy majority leader, Afanyo Makin, read a statement to congratulate them on a successful parliamentary election. You remember ours was a bit chaotic, but theirs, we understand, was very successful, devoid of confusion and all of that. So he made a statement. Kujata Blakwa, being the ranking on the foreign affairs, also contributed to it. And shortly after that, a few annual report from the GET Fund was put before the House for adoption, and also a report from the Works and Housing Committee was put before the House for adoption as well.
Parker Wilson is our man in Parliament, and we keep monitoring events there and would always update you on what happens in Parliament.